Have you ever wanted buttery naan in your own home? Today, I'm going to show you how. First thing we'll need, warm water. I'll have all the amounts in the description below because I'm going to have them in by weight and by volume. So measuring cups versus grams. I prefer grams because I could usually just put this on a scale, just put stuff in and watch the weight. Not a bad way to go. Okay, so water, active dry yeast. If you haven't used yours in a while, maybe give it a few minutes to kind of bloom a little bit, which will create bubbles and it will foam. If you're an active user of dry yeast, just go ahead. You don't need to let it bloom. Next, sugar, vegetable oil, plain yogurt, can be Greek or however kind you want, just don't do any flavored kind. And you can try it up, mix it up a little bit, but I've just done it with plain. You could try strawberry, raspberry, whatever floats your boat, okay? Salt, good hefty pinch of salt. Let's give it just a little bit of a mix. Doesn't have to be too thorough. Okay, next part, very important, self-rising flour, okay? This is not normal flour, it's self-rising. I have done the work for you guys. I've tried this recipe a dozen different ways. With normal flour, it'll still work in a pinch. If you've got some curry going and you really want some naan, you can use normal flour. It'll just be a little more dense. It won't bloom as much, it won't grow. Self-rising flour is going to help the naan grow as you cook it, so it'll be a little fluffier and lighter. Food for thought. Okay, we're gonna put in about 80% of the flour now, then we'll slowly add the rest as we go, because we don't want it to be too dry. Okay, now let's mix. As you can see here, the dough is very wet. So let's go in with some more flour. I left about that much. So as you can see, the dough has been pulling off from the side of the bowl. Let's take a look at this dough. So it's got some good stretch to it. It's soft, it's not too hard, but it's also not too wet. It's not sticking to my hands, okay? This dough will make about 8 naan, about that big. So here's what we're gonna do now. Real quick, wanted to show you. We didn't go through all of our flour, as you saw. We've got like 5% of it left by weight, so it may look like a lot in this bowl, but it's not much at all. I like to take my dough and put it in a container with a lid. You can use a bowl with saran wrap or a cloth, whatever you want to do. I like to take some Pam and put the lid on, or your saran wrap. I personally like to put mine in the oven on a proof setting or with the light on, or you can preheat the oven like for 4 minutes, 5 minutes, just enough to get it warm, turn it off, and then put this in. This will help it rise a lot faster. Our dough has doubled in size, as you can see, so we're ready to go. That's how you know the dough's ready, doubled in size. So get a work surface, Pam it a bit, and real quick, before I forget, whatever you're gonna be cooking on, get it preheating now. So I've got a cast iron pan. I like the cast iron because it holds its heat, so you can do back to back and it stays nice and hot. You could also use an electric griddle. You could use a nonstick pan over your stove. Anything that heats up. You want to get it to medium high, maybe towards the higher end. And we'll walk through what the naan should look like as you're cooking it, and you'll be able to tell if your cooking surface is hot enough or not. So get that preheating. Now let's get our dough out and portion it. Personally, I like to just get mine in like a log shape. I take a bench scrape, you could use a knife, and I'll just cut it in half, half, and then half, and half. Okay, so that gets us our 8 naan. You can just leave them like this to rise. I personally like to just put them in a little bit of a ball. So you can kind of pinch it with your thumb and finger like this and get it in a ball. Or what you can do is push forward with this hand and back with this hand. And that's gonna get you a nice ball shape. You wanna let them rest for about 10-15 minutes so that they can grow in size and be easier to roll out. Let's let this heat up. We want to get it nice and hot, and we'll take these, get a rolling pin, roll them out, and cook them. Our pan is getting up to temp. For reference, for those of you who use thermometers, we're looking at about 470 right now. And let's go ahead and cook one. So, this happened while you weren't here, but I went and sprayed these with some Pam to keep them from drying out. You could also spray them with Pam, put saran wrap over them, a couple different things you can do there. I just Pammed them. So let's roll one out and cook it. We want to get these pretty thin because they will kind of shrink up once you put them on here. So get them out pretty thin like that. Now let's go ahead and transfer it to our pan. You should hear a sizzle just like that when you put it on. Should start to see some bubbles forming. It's a good sign, right? Okay, to know if you're ready to flip, take a spatula, check underneath. That's looking ready. Flip. Okay, again, check underneath, make sure it looks good. And that's what ours looks like. I'm gonna pull that off because I don't want it to start browning. Now I'm gonna show you my favorite, which is garlic naan. So same as before, we're gonna roll it out, nice and thin. Now, we add some garlic. You can use fresh chopped garlic. I just got this canned stuff. I was using it to make something else. So spread it around. You get to kind of choose how much garlic you want, obviously. What I like to do after it's on is just roll over it real quick. That keeps it from falling off while it's cooking. Puts it into the bread. Okay. So now we take our garlic naan, throw it on, and let it cook. Same as before, we want to check underneath before we flip. It looks like that's ready. Starting to see a few bubbles here. So we'll go ahead and flip. Boom, look at that. Perfect browning. You can see the garlic in there is not too burnt. That is a perfect naan. After I get mine off, while it's still warm, I like to add some butter. Let it melt on there. Also, like I said before, these are great dipping in curry, other soups. This is just one of my favorite ways to eat it as a little snack. Spread the butter around. Okay, after I've got my butter on, you can take a little parsley, throw it on, boom. Let's try it out. This thing's delicious, garlicky, buttery, goes with so many different things, soups, curries, even just as a snack. Super easy to make. Give it a try. Let me know how it goes. Thanks for stopping by. Mmm.